Connecting the dots, connecting his guests to the world, creating more connections. Welcome to The Connection. Meet your host, author, coach, Air Force veteran, Jay Morales.
Thanks for joining us on probably one of the most impactful episodes I've ever spoken of. This is part 3 in the Cummings family, and I want to address that this is to encourage people to open up and talk about suicide ideation or ideation of hurting yourself or feeling depressed or blue, feeling not so strong mentally or struggling with your mental health. So keep that in mind as we go through. Lisa and Will, good friends of the family. Lisa, your relationship with Becky, how long have you known Becky?
I was just thinking about that the other day. I think it's been like 25 years.
Crazy.
We started at First Data together.
Do you remember the time that we were all at Heather's house, Heather and Mike's house, and we went to the cigar shop?
You and I
Just
drove.
you and I, yes. Everyone was like, where did they go?
And
Jake's Cigars.
I know. I mean, I'd known you, like we had talked a couple of times and we're like, oh, let's go get cigars. And so we're just like,
people were like,
where'd they
where'd
go?
they go? And literally we just went to go get cigars because I wanted a cigar. So we've known each other. Will, 10 years, you and I. I mean, Fresno, California, right?
Right. So in June, it was 10 years.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot together.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot. And I just want to get right into it, right? I can put all the details of who you guys are online, but I really want to get into this, and I want to be very respectful with our conversation. So let's talk about this. What was your son like growing up? What was little Will like? What was he like?
Well, he's an April Fool's baby. So he was born on April 1st. So he's the class clown.
Yeah.
He's the jokester, always trying to make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
Which, it's a great trait, great quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was born a month early.
Okay.
So I did not want him to be born on April 1st. I was so disappointed.
You wanted a May 1st baby?
He was supposed to be born May 1st. And I'm like, I wanted to hold off just for one more day. But no, he was ready to come outside the world when he wanted to.
Everybody thought it was a joke that when we told him he was born, like, we're not falling for that.
Yeah.
April 1st, April Fool's.
His sister specifically, because him and his sister always play pranks on each other. So
I had to take a photo of Will with the paper.
Yeah.
So that way she could timestamp it. Yeah.
Such a good memory, right?
Yeah.
What was he like? Was he what do they call it then? Hyperactive? Was he a hyperactive kid, or what was he like when he was toddler wise?
He was very hyperactive, a very passionate child, very wanted to be everybody's friend, and he just wanted everybody to love him, even naughty kids. He was like, that's going to be my friend, and we're like, yeah, maybe not, but he's like, no, yeah.
So he's always been an extrovert, like he was explaining to me. So there are kids that that just don't talk to anybody. Like I have friends who have kids who they're just very reserved. And, that's okay too. I'm not chastising. But then there's these kids who light up the world. Like where in that spectrum was Will from closed off, reserved to all the way like, what's up, y'all?
He knew no stranger.
Wow. So he would, any place where we would go, he'd fit right in and talk to anybody and, try to make them laugh and, ask them a million questions. That's
pretty cool.
Very outgoing.
Yeah.
Very outgoing. Yeah.
I think it's important that people understand, who Will was, so let's take him to grade school now. Let's take him to first day of first grade. Do you remember any of those days, or kindergarten, or even,
So kindergarten was, we were living in Madera, California, and it was a public school out there, and it was a very packed public school.
Okay. And
so William is that child where he was that kid where you couldn't leave him to his own by himself. So I remember I got a call from the teacher, and he cut his hair. Like he just took the scissors.
In school.
And I thought it was funny. So when the teacher is bringing him, she had his arm like this, walking him, and he's just like going, and I'm laughing because I'm like, I'm waiting for one of my kids to do it, because every kid, at least one of your kids cuts their hair. And so the teacher was so upset with me. She's like, this isn't funny. I'm like, it's hilarious. So I knew, and then there's like some incidences that he was being bullied already starting in kindergarten.
Yeah. Why do you think he was bullied? And because remember, this was over 17 years ago, over 15, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about the word bullying. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, when I was growing up, bullying was somebody was pushing you twice your size, and somebody was pushing you twice your size and knocking you down.
So that's essentially what was happening to him. Right. So what happened at that school was there was a kid, and he was doing some things at home, just kind of, I don't know, just not real aggressive, but it was just behavioral wise. We were just kind of like, and then he had said some things like he was getting pushed around at school and stuff. So we just showed up unannounced to the recess to watch it ourselves, because we felt strongly that the teacher was not doing enough.
Okay.
So we, with him in education, I always let him lead it.
That's right. You're an administrator, an educator.
He's more diplomatic talking to people. I'm the bulldog.
We're going to talk about that today.
So we that's how we balance each other out.
Yes.
So I think if you want to spin off of that, of what we saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw, like you were talking about having more of the physical side of things. Will has always wanted acceptance. And again, that's from his outgoing. He wants to be everybody's friend. And if somebody isn't accepting of him, he tries even harder to get that acceptance. So when we were observing the playground activities, he was really trying to get these attentions of these boys. And, they were kind of brushing him off. And I could really see him just, yearning for that from them. And,
at a young age.
At a young age. And I could see where maybe they were getting annoyed with him. And they were, then that kind of led to that part of it. Toward the pushing and, hey, get out of here.
Unfortunately.
But it was give and take. Both sides of it were.
Absolutely. Kids who do stand out, though, are targets of just either jealousy, zealous, comparison, because most kids aren't functioning as outgoing people. And when they do, they're going to be noticed. They're going to be picked on, praised, glorified, crushed, all the things, right? So let's talk about then the high school years. Bring it to the high school years.
Well,
I would even say going back to the middle school. Middle school is probably the defining moments, and a lot of this is where more of the bullying and the social media and just kind of the feeling like you have to be accepted by everybody came into play for him.
Even the video gaming platforms and stuff, because we would have to go in, and at that time, Lana, my mother-in-law was living with us. So the game room was right next to our bedroom. So we were able to hear, things, and when he would get upset and, he would cry, because kids are just mean.
So he was being bullied and harassed even online. And that, society overlooks things like this, because every time I move my hands, it changes the camera angle. People don't realize the things that kids go through today, because we're so busy that we don't have time.
Well, it's completely different. So I grew up playing video games. I had Atari, Nintendo, all that stuff, even up to the first Xbox. And, it never used to be a thing where you would get online and play against other players.
No, your buddy Anthony would come by the house, and you'd be like eating all your potato chips.
Yep.
And that's where you would argue right there.
You would talk trash to, to the person
like,
next
look,
to you.
you big dummy. Right next to you.
But now when you have this online gaming aspect, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, there's so much more courage that some of these kids have to be even more vile and say things that
grown people
and grown
even in that arena. That arena.
There were a number of times where I would be walking by or just kind of in there hanging out with Will while he was playing, and somebody would say something like, oh, you're trash at this, why don't you go kill yourself?
Right.
And that was
language that people use because they're already playing a violent game.
Right. And so immediately, I would report them and things like that. They get a ban for 2 days or whatever.
And they're back
at it.
Well, it just shows too, and this is something that we try to instill and both of our children is that there's such a disconnect when you're playing these video games. It's an emotionless tactic. There's no emotion. There's nothing, especially during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
You know, COVID is where we feel like
it doubled down on that.
It doubled down on William because of the disconnect of interaction, because he's a kid who's a touch field. That's his love language. He wants to be around people. He loves the embracing people.
Yeah.
But with social media and video games, and back to your point that we're so busy, we're not trying to pay, not that parents, and I don't want to come off that, I know a lot of parents were all busy, because we all are, but I don't want it to be that it was a bad parenting skill on anybody.
Right.
But at some point, we as parents had to figure out, oh my gosh, how are we going to get control of this?
Well, it's hard because it's like
we go through that too. So it's not just you. We go through like
these kids love this. They love being online and playing video games, and it's such a part of so many of these kids' lives.
It's the identity and the culture. No,
it is.
You know what I mean? It's just as common as we riding 10 speeds back in the day.
Yeah.
No one's riding 10 speeds.
No.
I don't think a kid even knows what a 10 speed is, right?
No.
I mean, let's be honest. They have a mountain bike that they've ridden 3 times.
Yes,
we
have that hanging in our garage.
So reflecting, just even knowing middle school. And again, looking back, it's easy to say, here's where the things that were jumping out. But as you're going through life, as 2 busy professionals, as a busy family, sports and this and events and networking and doing this, and that's just life. That's everyone's life, right? I don't care. Not all of our lives look the same, but life definitely has a busy feel to it. So now take me to high school.
So high school freshman year, so right before his freshman year, he was doing the football training and stuff. During the summer, we would drop him off. So it was prepping him for the game.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So he would FaceTime me very upset, and he would be crying.
I think a lot of it was, he didn't ever really want to play sports prior to that.
Yeah.
So he was pretty far behind in his athletic ability. So he was getting better and trying, but the kids were really, really just cruel about him not being a good athlete.
Yeah, because he put a lot of effort in. He put 110%, if not more, in. That kid just tried, but then it would deplete him, because they would tell him, "You're no good at this. You don't know what you're doing." And it was the older kids, and I think it's just the alpha thing that kids do.
Yeah.
And I would tell him, you know what? You tell him where to go. And you show them differently. You be the bulldog. You tell them.
Yeah.
And that's I encouraged him to
compete.
I'm like, just say, bring it on. I go, how do you think your mom says that? If there's something I don't know, I say, bring it on. I'm gonna learn it.
Yeah.
He was doing a great job with it too. His skill level was increasing and increasing and increasing.
Weightlifting.
And then he got hurt in one of the football games where he went to make a tackle and landed on his knee and hobbled off, and he had fractured his kneecap.
Oh, on the inside.
Yeah.
So when that happened, there wasn't a lot that they could do for a fractured kneecap other than stay off of it.
Correct.
And so
not play,
not
practice.
So he was on crutches, and so he didn't have it wrapped or anything because there was nothing they could do for it. Well, everybody was telling him he was faking it. And so then they were bullying him even more about, oh, you're not hurt. You're just playing hurt. You're a baby, all this stuff. And, he was already getting it from the team he wasn't the best on the team, but now it was, hey, you're making this up and lying about it.
Let me ask you this, okay, aside from the team. So you'd pick them up from practice or a game, and, some days they don't have great games or great practice. Sat in the back of the car, I'm sure, when you guys picked them up, or next to you. Do you ever remember the deafening silence, or was there any deafening silence ever? Or did he take it personally? Or
no, he loved being out there. Like, he loved football.
Yeah.
But he, that was the part where he loved being out there so much that the other part of it, he just stuffed.
Yeah.
He never complained about it. Okay, like
really?
you said, when he would FaceTime Lisa, but you'd say, "Hey, how was practice? Great, awesome.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. Yeah,
did this, boom, boom."
Because you have this syndrome lately of kids in general, you can see the emotions of sports and the pressure of performance and the pressure of grades and clothes and cars and parties and all the things, right? And, and I will tell you that, my own son watching Mason, have a bad game, sit in the car. And this is not about him, but this is about a lot of kids who just shut down. But Will was not shutting down.
He was the opposite.
And it's, it was almost that false front, he was putting on that, that
to appease you guys and appease everyone, just to make sure everyone no one worried.
Right.
Like, it's not a big deal. In a year leading up, in his junior year, right? It was
his freshman year.
Yep. Sorry, in freshman year, was there any signs in that year that stood out to you, like beyond the other stuff, but like, oh my gosh, is there at risk where you thought, no way, this is not going to be? But what did you say?
So his there were signs that were starting to show.
Besides him snapping some of his friends,
it was he would have, and it was like this when he was little too, he would have complete meltdowns. Like if he didn't have his way with something like a video game, or if he wasn't processing. He had the inability to like be able to talk about his emotions of, I'm feeling like, I'm upset because of this. No, he would just immediately, everything was reactionary for him. And it would take us like 3 days to get him off that ledge sometimes.
So overstimulation. Nothing else could get processed in his brain.
It was so far up here that he would go to sleep, wake up, and it would start all over immediately.
Right. There was no escape from it. It was just, he was in that state of.
Yeah. It was just, there was no survival mode. There was nothing. He was just like super heightened. And
we would see stuff in his text messages, like with, during these times, during playing the video games, because again, the kids were all saying, oh, you're trash and all this other stuff. And so the first time that we really saw it was probably his 8th grade year. Toward the end of it, he had said something to his friends of, I'm just going to kill myself then, because they were messing with him and telling him he's bad at Fortnite and, he couldn't do it. And he was really good at Fortnite, but, he just, he lost a round. And so they were just, telling him how bad he was. So he took that so to heart. And so that was the first time. And so I confronted him with Lisa about it and just said, hey, like, can you explain, what's going on here? And he goes, oh, Dad, I would never do that. It's just something we say. And
okay, so he expressed specifically like that.
Yeah, I was in the moment. I was pissed off. Yeah. I did not, they were just giving me a hard time. And I just said that out of just kind of a rage to get a reaction from them.
So
I was like, okay, I could buy that.
Okay.
And then the other time when we knew it was really serious, when he brought up Halloween. So he actually had sent a snap to 2 of his friends
on Halloween
that night. And actually it was a picture of our gun. And his friend actually went to his mom, and I got a call the next day.
Okay, so the mom reached out to you.
No, reached out to 988. It's the suicide line.
Yeah. Oh, so they called the 988 and then said, "Hey, I think something is happening."
And
then we got a call the next day.
How did that make you feel when that happened? Like, did you feel like, were you mad at them?
No, not at all. I remember it vividly because she came in and just like there was this weight on her, and when she told me, it was just like, what? There's nothing that prepares you to hear that.
You feel helpless.
You've been holding yourself back for a couple minutes now. I want you to really I want you to be able to have a chance to express yourself right now.
I felt like I failed him. I always tell him this. We prayed for him and God gave him to us because we wanted to be parents so bad. So when you come to that moment of your son who you just cherish every little thing, every movement from the day he was born, and you wonder, why do you want to leave me? So that's what I felt at that moment. And when we talked to him about it, and I remember him sitting on my little rocking chair, you could tell he was so just like, oh my gosh, I have to talk about this. This is serious. He convinced us he would never do it. No. But we immediately
we saw something different in him at that point, to where he wasn't that bright. That wasn't that bright
of a light.
No, it was more dark and more just kind of somber. You know, he was trying to express things and he couldn't.
Yeah.
Was he angry at you guys?
A little bit.
Angry for to prod or
yes.
That's what
angry. That's what I mean. Angry to prod. Yeah. Angry that you're trying to.
He just didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
He wanted to shut down the conversation and move on.
He just was like, whatever. So the biggest thing was the difficult part is finding therapy is hard. Finding therapy that meets your insurance is hard. Finding therapy you can afford is difficult.
Finding the time.
Finding everything was hard. Finding a psychiatrist was hard. So I was blessed, and I don't remember how I came across our psychiatrist, but we got him into a psychiatrist immediately, and then it kind of just went from there.
I think it was the next day.
Halloween,
so that
around Halloween.
From the day that we found out, either the next day or the day after, we had him in seeing a psychiatrist.
The therapist part was difficult because now it's finding someone who meets his personality, who is a good for him. And so I had met with one, and
it's the insurance, it's the scheduling, it's who's taking new patients on.
There's 8 different factors to get help. And I wanna highlight this. So when someone says, you know, go get some help, go talk to somebody, I want people to realize that it is a process. It is research, insurance, cost, time, personality, fit, discipline. It's 18 probably things before you find the right one.
And
I think so many people just give up because they can't go through that process.
I won't go on hold for 2 minutes to order a pizza. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Let alone, and that's pizza.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So it's very daunting. I mean, it was from that moment forward, even after the incident, finding the right doctors that are just you learn so much just for a teenager, just to find for a teenager. There's not a lot out there for, these kids who are suffering substantially from a mental health perspective they just need someone to talk to outside of us.
Well, you can't be at a dinner party and go, hey, Marge, what therapist do you use?
Exactly. Yeah. And to that point, Jay, not everybody talks about mental health.
That's the part I'm even talking about because now, Lisa, does your son see it? Why do they whisper like we're doing something bad?
But we were those parents at that moment. So we were like, when we got the therapist and then he was starting to put on Prozac, we were like, don't tell your friends. We were those parents. We're not like that now. But then it was like we didn't want, because he was dealing with so much bullying, we didn't want the impact of him being judged even more. So we thought,
now you're on meds because you can't.
And the word letter P, did you say Prozac?
Yeah.
Right.
People take Prozac. Are you crazy? Yeah. Are you crazy?
Yes.
Are you about to snap? And so this is your chance to normalize a bit of that.
Yeah.
I want you to look into that camera and there's a mom right now who is like, no one in our family's ever had this problem. We're all high achievers. Like, what do you say to them?
Don't be ashamed of it. I was anti-meds, like we talked about getting Will on, some sort of ADHD drug, and I was completely against it. In hindsight, I should have been more open to that. Now, my purpose is to be able to make sure everyone understands that this needs to be a discussion that is an open, maybe even a dinner table discussion, to where it's not anything you should feel bad about. This is just what happens. This is where we are.
There's nothing to be ashamed of, to take care of yourself and to be an advocate for your kids. Take him to, if you don't like the doctor that you went to, if you don't like those answers, it is okay to do your own research, and it's okay to ask those questions and challenge your doctors.
Find another doctor,
because there's nothing wrong with that. because you want to make sure you get the right meds for your children, the right meds for yourself. And if you don't feel right, challenge them. Challenge your psychiatrist.
And that was the challenge with the meds as well, was that everybody reacts different to different medications. Prozac was not good for Will.
No.
And as he was on it, we started seeing him go down a darker path. Like it wasn't helping. It was getting worse.
Was this is still leading up to?
Yeah. So this was, so October, so early November, he was put on, he got on a Prozac. And then we were trying that out for a month or so, I guess 2-3 months. And we actually called a doctor and said, this isn't working for him. We need to have something different.
You challenged what the doctor
was
thinking?
That was what, probably February.
It was towards the end of
January, early February.
Because around that time, we were also working closely with the school psychologist.
So there's a whole team of people.
There's a
it's
whole
not
team.
just a therapist. It's not just a doctor. It's not just the school.
All the administration knew. We were getting a village around him to try to, because we knew that this was serious.
And that his grades were going down. So we got him, we're getting him on an IEP program as well.
What does that mean?
Can you tell him?
Individualized education plan.
What does that mean? It's custom to him.
Yes.
Yep. So everything that, because again, some kids with learning disabilities may need additional time or a quiet space to take a test. And so these are all the accommodations that they were putting in place for him. So that way, if somebody got done with the test first and he's still over there, he's not thinking that, people are judging him for being slow or
that's,
you're a dummy.
And that's part of.
Trust me, I was there as a kid, but.
And at that time we found out he had ADHD.
Okay. Yeah. So it was true diagnosed ADHD.
Yeah. So that's where it was all starting to align at that point. So we're at this point, we're going, and his grades were still failing and everything. And he was wanting to be with his friends over his homework. So then we started, it was the week before the incident is when we started having all these meetings and stuff with the school counselor was in there, psychologist, just a plethora of teachers.
So this was a week before the incident.
It was probably the Friday before. It was actually the Friday before we all met, because then that following Tuesday is when it happened.
Okay, so.
And we thought we were making good progress.
Yeah, we thought
things were starting to align. He was buying into it.
You're doing everything that a parent can do, everything your responsibility. That the best resources. I'm sure you had your arms around him, hugged it even tighter. And then Tuesday happens.
We were at the point where we weren't even leaving him alone. Like, he was never left alone from the time October 31st, when the next day we got the call. He was not left alone.
It's hard to live like that for just you too, right?
We were living in fear.
Can I ask what it did to you? Did it strain your marriage? Did it?
For sure.
Yeah.
Because, you're trying to find the best result for, your child. And, your idea might be this, and, her idea might be something different. And, you're just you're throwing things up.
Yeah. Family doesn't mean you agree on every single thing.
So, and, if you may not like it, and she may not have liked what I had to say, or if I was, snippy about, something back, it's, it does put a strain on it.
We were maxed
because you're
out.
just worried.
Not maxed. I don't want to say maxed out, but we were pretty close on our stress levels.
It had to be. It had to be. I mean, if your kid has a broken finger, you stress out and you hope the finger heals well. This is bigger than a broken finger.
Right.
Take me back to what life was like. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want someone to identify and say, shoot, why are we wasting our time when we could be strengthening, right? Like, was there time wasted between you two? Like, at just wasteful thoughts of anger?
Yes.
I'm sure there was.
I mean, so.
It was such a whirlwind.
And I'm not trying to play counselor right now. What I'm trying to do is.
It's really hard to pinpoint, for me anyway, because I felt like I was living in a whirlwind. Like, I didn't know what was up. I didn't know what was down. Yeah. All I knew was the terror of losing your kid.
Yeah, your baby.
And it's hard to put it into that perspective because I'd never experienced it before.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no playbook that you just, follow and say, oh yeah, all you got to do is this, and everything's good.
And Will and I are like we're playbook individuals. Like when I was pregnant, you know, you have that book that you read to what to expect.
Oh, what to expect when you're expecting. Right?
Yes.
Like,
And
I'd like to meet the author.
Well, I read it. He read it.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, you need, you know, and this, and that's just how we've, I mean, not so much anymore, but we're very structured.
Yeah. Oh, structured. Yeah.
Yeah. In
people
that
like
sense,
to be prepared for things.
we prepare. I mean, we've always looking ahead and everything. So when you have a situation where you can't look ahead and you're trying to look ahead, but it's dark, you see, I mean,
you know nothing.
You know nothing. And you know, it's just a demon that is inside my kid. And how do you pull that out of a kid?
And then, you know, you're dealing with, you know, you say, hey, were you able to get a hold of any therapists or any of this? Nope. And so, like, you know, it's, you know, time is precious when you're, you know, faced with something like this. And it's like I don't know what else to do.
7:40 at night when you're having these conversations.
Or, you know, you get busy and, you know, we both are working.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, did you call them this morning? No, I pulled into a meeting and you know, whatever. And then it's more pressure and stress. And
we also have our daughter.
Yes.
So we have all our energy. We're not trying to, you know, we have to put all our energy into William, but we also have to give our energy to our daughter. So that way she's never left out of anything. You know, you always want to embrace both your kids, but there's always one child at a moment. And when I say a moment is such a elongated word, since it could be a moment for 6 months to a year. You have to remember and say, oh my gosh, Mackenzie, come here.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
You know, you do. You know what, honey, I know we're focused here, but we love you. And that's something that you have to make sure that, you know, because other kids, and this is, I feel for parents, because when you're dealing with a kid or a significant other with the mental illness, your children are not purposely forgotten.
Right.
Your brain can only hold so much, you know?
I agree with that. And that goes with a grocery list.
Yes.
That goes with job responsibilities. Yes. That goes with packing your items. It goes with forgetting your keys where they are. How can you keep life together under the stress, especially under the stress? When you're going on vacation and your brain is jumbled, that's one thing. But when you're going dark in your life and you're being challenged, how do you function, right? I want to enter this next part carefully, okay? Again, this is not for the shock and awe sensation. Tuesday comes and you got a call, I'm sure. And we don't need to relive every moment, but speak as you're comfortable.
And we're okay with reliving it.
Yeah.
We're okay. I mean,
that's, again, like I said, our mission in all of this is to be there for other people that, you know, are going through something similar. And
because I know for myself, I'm still healing from it. But the more I talk about it, the more I heal. So he just so happened. And again, I'm putting this out there. This is all God. This is nothing
100%
to do with anything. God aligns everything for you when you least expect it. So everything's always there. Everybody always says it's in God's timing. This is so true in so many aspects. So he just so happened to have a hair appointment that day because Will and Big Will and his little Will go to a certain, you know, somebody that they like to go to. Nana was in town for his birthday. And so I was at work and he was at work. And my kid
was actually at a networking.
Oh, you were meeting. Golfing.
No, I was just at a networking.
Oh, that's right.
And so I had planned to take Will to get his haircut and had to leave by, 5 o'clock. I looked down, it was 5:10. And I said, oh man, we're going to be a few minutes.
Mackenzie was blowing up both of our phones.
So first off, I called Will to say, hey, be ready to go when I get there. We're going to be coming in. I'm going to come in hot. We're going to go. And didn't answer. So I called Mackenzie. I said, hey, where's your brother? I need you to go tell him that he needs to be ready when I get there.
She was not answering you.
And she did. She answered.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So this is what sparked her to go look.
And I have no idea what's going on. I'm at work.
So she'd mentioned.
You don't even know.
I don't even work. I sorry to interrupt you. I never worked late. I usually left at a certain time every day, but I decided to work late that night for some reason.
Yeah. So Mackenzie mentioned that she was looking for Will. Yeah. So I had sparked that by calling her and saying, hey, I need you to go find Will and tell him that he needs to be ready. So as I'm driving, I'm on the phone with a client talking over some things, and Mackenzie calls me. And so I was like, I'll just call her back. And so then she called again, and I was on the, I was almost home. I was almost home. So I was like, I'll just talk to you when I get there. And then I was driving, and I saw a fire truck pull into our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was, I'm on 168th heading toward Q, and it was a ways down there, so I wasn't thinking anything. And then I turned the corner into our subdivision, and I see the fire truck at my house. Oh, my mom was there. So I thought at first something happened to my mom. And then as I'm parking and pulling up, they're wheeling Will out on a stretcher. And the first thing I heard was, "We got a pulse, Dad." And so like my mind is just, I don't even know what's happening right now. I didn't know anything. And then Mackenzie came out and said, "Will tried to take his life." And so as I'm processing all of this and trying to figure out where they're taking him, and I knew that I had to call Lisa, which is
okay. Take a moment.
Hardest call I've ever had to make in my life. Again, nothing can prepare you for that.
Yeah.
You called her. Yeah. She answered the phone.
And I was like, what's going on? Why is not? Because I thought the kids were arguing because I never work late.
I called her. I said, "Hey, you have to get down to Children's right now. Will tried to take his life."
That was the exact words, just like that.
"We have to get down there."
And I just screamed. I screamed. There were people in the office, and all I said was no. I said no. So I got in the car. I called my boss, told him I'm not going to be in for a while. I told him what happened, and I screamed. I screamed at God the whole time. But the thing about God is he's so good, because he's like, at some point he was like, "Lisa," because I'm like, "That's my son, and you will not take him from me." And he said, "Lisa, he was my son first." And so we and then I became a little bit more peaceful for some reason, because God just resonated in me. And so I just started praying. I'm like, you just pray. And I called my niece, who, God bless her, she dropped everything to come be with our family. And she's like, "Lisa, it's going to be okay." And I'm like, how does she know? How do you know? Because you don't know. And I get there and I try to get out of the car. I left the car running, and I remember running back. And then I was running, and this older gentleman stopped, and he says, "How can I help you?" And I said, "My son's here. My son, Will Cummings. I need my son and the paramedics." He came out and he hugged me, and he says, "Mom, we have a pulse. He's going to be fine." And I'm like, how do you know? And you're trying not to be angry, because you don't know. Anger is so where we go first, and that's not what God wants us. He wants us to lean into him. And I was trying so hard at that moment, but we were so clouded. And I remember running through the doors, and you go and you look over at your son with a million people around him. And I started screaming, and I said, "Devil, you will not take my kid today. Satan, he is not yours, he's mine." And I just was screaming that. I just repeated it over and over. And then there's a chaplain who was so sweet. And then he walked in and was praying with us. And I felt out of control at that point, but I just kept praying. And that's what we did from that moment on. We prayed. We just prayed. And then we were upstairs. As I paced and waited for a son. There was this other chaplain that came that looked like Jesus, like he said. And he was super amazing.
He looked like Jesus.
Never saw the guy again.
But he was with us.
He was with us the entire time till we went in with Will. And then we never saw him. We asked for him. We asked about him.
But I talked to Becky and then Aileen.
When did you call Becky?
The moment we got upstairs. I talked to Aileen because I was supposed to meet with the girls that night. And Becky heard all of them. And then Becky called me.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Then Becky calls me, and, it was such a village, because I didn't believe in villages until we're surrounded by some amazing people. And Becky started that meal train for us. And then, everybody just came together. I
don't even remember.
Yeah, she just ran with that. And it was just Angela, everybody.
ECS, everybody just chipped
in together. But we, nothing prepares you when you go to see your son and you finally get to go in there. It's crazy.
It took a long time too to get in there.
Hours.
Because of the incident and what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The police are doing their investigation.
They're asking you guys all the.
They didn't even talk to us.
They
talked to us when we were first at the house, but when we were at the hospital, it took us probably over an hour, maybe closer to an hour and a half to get into the room with him.
Like eternity.
They were still doing their investigation. They were getting him all prepped and everything, and then before we got in there, the police had to go in and
finish their reports.
If it's okay, I want to fast forward to the doctor sitting down with you or the team or the nurses or whoever. What was the bad news? Were they like, hey, I need to tell you something?
Well, they're doing all kinds of tests, from the get-go.
Right.
And so one of the tests which we had to wait for the next day, or maybe later that day, I can't remember, was just an MRI on his brain, because that was the concern, was how long was he deprived of oxygen? And we were estimating it between 5 to 8 minutes, because his last post, he posted something on Snapchat
at 5
saying basically what he was going to do. Goodbye, world. And then by the time that Mackenzie found him and they got him down,
it's been around almost 10 minutes actually. So we
just don't know how long.
We don't know how long from the time he sent that snap to then.
Tried.
I mean, that's a long time, and again, I'm not a medical professional by any means, but back to the feeling of, hey, Mom, Dad, what were they telling you? He's not going to walk. He's not going to, what was he telling you he wasn't? What were they telling you that he wasn't going to be?
I forget the name of it, but it's like an umbilical cord on a baby. So we were essentially told that he's never going to, because due to the suffocation of, not breathing, and it was like back here. It's
okay. We don't need a medical term. Just
he's never going to eat. He's not going to be able to walk, talk, eat, or anything again.
On his own.
On his own.
Okay, so at that moment, they gave you that news.
I didn't accept it.
But it's it's one of those things where
I didn't accept it.
Your whole brain, your mind is in shock.
Yeah.
Like you're like,
well,
okay,
yeah.
What?
Like what?
Yeah, it's disbelief, and it's trying to figure out what the next steps are.
Mm-hmm. And we were trying to put together what we might need for our house and stuff, but I didn't.
You were already.
I'm not going to accept this.
But in your mind, you were preparing.
So I was already thinking I needed to do a concrete all the way around my house. If we need to have him in the basement, I need to get a vein.
So by day 3, he was breathing on his own and stuff. So they start going around. The doctors start feeling to take the tube out.
Oh, Will told me to ask you about this, or Mackenzie said they said they were going to take it out, but they didn't. Mm-hmm. And you said,
no, you're taking it out. He left me. It was a Sunday, and he said, "Be nice." He said,
"I'm not laughing."
No,
But I know you.
Bulldog.
I know you.
It gets better. There's a better story to this.
Tell it.
Day 3, because he was squeezing our hands because the doctor's he has to show us motion that he can hear us. Well, I want to just back up a few steps here, because what I did is I called our church. And I talked to one lady, and then I called James, which is his youth pastor.
We got a text saying, hey, excited to see you guys at Switch tonight. So this was the next night. So Tuesday, Wednesday was Switch. So excited to see you guys at Switch. Yes. So we sent a text to James, Brian, and Tommy.
Yeah.
Explaining.
No, I called James. I didn't send the text yet.
Okay, called first.
I called him from Will's phone, and he's like, hey, because at the time it was football season, it's football season. They're all putting their names of who they or the teams that they want and stuff like that. And I was like, James, this is Lisa. I have something to tell you. So he dropped everything. And that was a Thursday.
It's like in Louisville or something.
Springfield. He was at a basketball tournament with his
Far place.
He dropped everything and he drove there. And between him and Brian and Tommy, that kid would light up when they would come in the room. He hadn't even opened his eyes at that point, wasn't acknowledging people. And here comes James. He heard his voice and opened his eyes and acknowledged him. So we prayed at that moment. So that's when we started calling on people, his sister, my sister, our family. We had like
all the prayer warriors,
all the prayer churches. Like Emily reached out to like, there was like, she said like 700 churches. We had the entire Christian unity just came in as a stronghold because James prayed over him immediately. So that's when I knew, me not accepting his diagnosis, I'm like, it's in God's hands.
Yeah.
I even told the doctors, your science terminology, whatever you got, your medical terms mean nothing to me.
I don't care about that.
I told a whole, like 5 or 6 of these women standing there and I go, I don't accept this. And I would walk away.
Hey, doctors, your education's no good here.
Not for me.
I get it.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, this is God. And they would kind of go, good thing you're praying. I'm like, no, I'm praying. And we prayed over him morning, noon, and night.
One doctor in particular just kept saying, because they were trying to, see whether he was responsive. And, he would squeeze my hand. I was like, talk to him and you squeeze it. And they're like, oh, it's involuntary. And I said, no, it's not. I know when my son's squeezing my hand.
They were telling you that it was just impulses.
Brains, neurons firing, and it's just happening.
So he left.
James left.
He left. So this is a few days after we got prayer warriors and everything going on. And I'm like, okay, so he's acknowledging us. And the doctors would go, well, he's not acknowledged because they reach in. No, he's not. I'm like, no, you don't understand. He's pulling it out today. And she was like arguing with me. And I said, listen, this is what you're doing today. I don't care what you're saying, but we're pulling.
On a Sunday.
It was on a Sunday. I said, we're pulling it out and that's it. Because once you do that, my kid is going to thrive. And I walked out and then I came back and there's another doctor. So then I had lost it again. Now I wanted to say so much more, but I didn't. But I did.
Issues with what you were doing, like to say, we won't hold you in harm or
no. They just thought it was better for him not to have that off.
So one doctor said, well, if he doesn't respond to it, we're going to have to put it back in. It can make it worse. I said, no, it's going to be fine. I know my son. So we took it out.
So Mackenzie and my mom and I were at church that morning. We went to the early service.
And you were there by yourself.
Yeah.
She was at the hospital by herself.
And he told me to be nice.
And so, this is, 9:30, 9 o'clock, maybe about 9:30 when we get out. And so I'm calling her to tell her that we're on our way. Hey, we're on our way, whatever. And so phone picks up and I hear, hi, Dad. I don't speed, but I was cruising down Dodge and just to get there as fast as I could.
You heard your son's voice.
And then he wanted ice and I wasn't supposed to give it to him, but I'd bring it to him whenever he wanted.
So for him to not be able to walk, talk, do anything, we already got the talking in there. And he's alert. He knows
that's the first
who we were.
He knew you because parts of his memory are forgotten or just he doesn't remember some of it.
Yeah,
they didn't tie together because there is brain injury, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so he says, "Hi, Dad," because you are obviously holding the phone. When did you know things were going to be okay?
So
it's just those little glimmers of hope, right? You're told the worst. And again, I've said, hey, if my kid never walks again, or
I don't care.
Whatever, he's talking. Like we can have a conversation.
So within 5 days, by the 5th day, roughly, they moved him from ICU down to the next floor. I think either, I can't remember if it's up or whatever, but they were going to start, slowly with his physical therapy. And when he said earlier about hugging me, he just stood up.
What?
He just stood up.
They were trying to get him ready to go to do physical therapy with them. And so he stood up and just hugged Lisa.
He was not supposed to walk. He was not supposed to talk nor eat. You were thinking of pouring concrete already.
Yeah. So they were just having him do like standing up with support and help. So he was standing up, sitting down, that stuff. And then they were going to try doing some steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had left to go home and get some rest. And I was with Will. And they said, hey, we're just going to do some standing up. We're going to maybe walk to the bathroom or try that. I said, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go get coffee. So I went down. They have scooters. Went grabbed some scooters and came upstairs. And as I'm entering the hospital wing, that floor, I look over and there he is walking, just trucking, just going to town. And they're like
lopsided, or
Yeah,
he was, his balance was off.
Yeah, he had no balance still.
And they had it, so he had one of the belts on, so they had
But he
him
was
there.
still walking.
But he was walking on his own, and he just looked at me, and I was like,
he couldn't really talk either at the moment.
Yeah, because the voice box, I think, or the larynx.
His vocal cords.
Vocal cords.
Damaged vocal cords too, which they said would never repair, which were repaired in months, a matter of a couple months.
Yeah, because I remember, us coming to Madonna. I want to bring us to a better part of light here. Just, this is pretty heavy. I mean, we have the story and perspectives, but what has it done for both of you?
well, it's definitely, I think, renewed my faith more. I was definitely in a spot where I was questioning a lot of things.
Sure.
And just, I'm a very analytical person, and I need evidence.
I
need evidence. I need things to make sense. And so, some of the things just didn't make sense. And, the only way, that any of this really is where it is today is because of God.
Absolutely. I mean, God's funny too. He actually humbles you. The doctor that I yelled at, I mean, I screamed at her. I was screaming. I didn't cuss. I was screaming.
So there's no thank you cards or get well cards from the hospitals for you?
No, let's.
The doctor said something to her and she says, "You don't get to talk because you were wrong about all of these things."
Wow. Okay. I'm only laughing because I know Lisa. Okay. You don't get to say it again.
You don't get to talk. However, let me get back to God's
And this is within a circle with all of the doctors.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, whoa.
What was his reaction?
She just I made her cry. I upset her. So here's how God's funny. And I want everybody to know how God humbles you and brings you to back. So the next, when we're on this other level, and I get a flat tire. I hit a pothole. It was winter. It's cold. And no, I did not want to change my tire. I'm like, I got to get in. So I pull the car in and I look over and I see somebody in a car next to me. And I'm like, oh, who's that? Oh, that looks like that doctor. So I just get out of the car. I call him for him to
come on now.
So I'm in the room with my son and he's sleeping at the time. And here comes that doctor. The one that I told, you will not talk. And she gives me a piece of paper and she says, you must have hit the same pothole as I did. So here's a phone number for you to call to get your tire replaced. And so she sat down next to me and I'm like, God, I am not apologizing. So I looked at her and I said, do you have any kids? She goes, yeah, I have a baby. And I said, you will always know your kid. I said, so when a mom tells you to pull that tube out because she knows her kid's going to thrive, I said, you should listen to her. I go, because
you said that in that moment again?
Yes. I said, because I go, look at my son. Yeah. And she goes, I know. I can see that. I go, he's thriving.
And after all of that,
but it humbled me to forgive her.
Yes.
Too.
We just kept seeing Will level up. So, once he stood up, once the two came out and he stood up, and then, there was so many just benchmarks day in, day out. And then they said, he's doing all the stuff that we can do here. So he needs to go to Madonna.
And that's where enter Mason.
And Will had to learn to walk all over again. Yeah. He had to learn how to eat. Everything had to be relearned after, just 8 days in the hospital.
We're there we were in children's for 13 days total. And, but, I was told by our psychiatrist that the doctors at children's were amazed by him. They said that typically when they see kids that have had his injury, it's months, 6 months before they're out of it.
what you guys are telling us.
It was like supposed to be another 6 to 9 months before we could be where he was at walking out of Madonna.
I mean,
and so that's why we talk about God, like I can't explain it any other way.
I just remember being part of the story, right? Just part of the, I remember walking the halls. I remember what it smells like in there. I remember where I parked, and I remember parking crooked and I didn't even care. I remember seeing you guys in the window of that first room that you guys were in. I was like, oh, there they are. I was going to the wrong exit, and Mason's like, where are we going, Dad? But Mason's going to watch this, and this is probably more for him, this next part, and it's for the kids who surround good kids like your son, right? Is there something you want Mason to know about the part that he might have played in Will's social part of his life? Or
yeah, I mean, Mason, you're there for him, man. Like he always looked forward to you coming and visiting. He said, hey, Mason's gonna come by. The rest of his day was so boring with doing all of the other, hey, here's how to put your fork up to your mouth. Yeah. He was just so happy to have that interaction with one of his buddies. So thank you for being there for Will.
Yeah, the thing about Mason, which I loved, and the videos are on our Facebook, but he wasn't daintily with Will. He just, come on, let's go throw a football. And he was patient and so sweet and so funny. And both kids were there. I mean, Kinsey was having fun, and all three of them just watching them together. And it made Will feel like
a normal kid
again. And that was we're like, okay, we've got more milestones. We've got another great.
I don't even think at that point Will. So a lot of the memories, like you mentioned, he didn't remember. He didn't know why he was in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
he didn't even know why he was at Madonna. We went through a lot of counseling and therapy with the staff there. We had to tell him what happened.
I do remember that,
and that was a hard piece too, because when you have he was a completely different person from what he was before. The darkness was gone. There was so much light in him. He was just free as a bird.
But that traumatic event had probably, like you said, was a catalyst for change.
Killed every demon that he had. So when you're thinking that you have to tell him about what had happened, does this send him back down that spiral again?
And it didn't.
And so when we told him, I think he was shocked himself.
He got up and he hugged his nonna and his sister and said, I'm so sorry I put you through that. And then they were like,
and my mom's not here to be in this podcast, but she and Mackenzie were the real MVPs of all of this.
Yes, absolutely.
From fighting him, getting him down and doing CPR, like they were.
And I want to put out just another God moment. In that moment when they were saving him, Lana couldn't get, she had bad knees, bad hips, whatever.
Yeah, I know her.
She's like, I don't know how I did it. And I said, it was God. It wasn't, I always thought it was the paramedics that got a pulse. No, the paramedics told us it was Nonna.
Because of what she did.
Yeah. Him CPR. And she hadn't done CPR at like whatever. And
no one does CPR.
No one does CPR. And all of a sudden it just all
clicked. Trained 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. I know.
To land this, what gives you hope when you look at your son today?
I just tell him he's God's miracle. And, he's a true testament of what God can do for you, can do for anybody. I mean, not many moms get to sit here like I do, when they lose their son or daughter. And my heart breaks for them. But I think for me, he just encourages me to give it all to God, even in my worst moments or, most stresses or whatever. I mean, he's got a whole life ahead of him, and that is amazing. And I'm proud of that. To spend time with his sister and grow old with his sister when we're gone. I mean, that is something that I've always wanted them to always be close, and they've always been close, but now it's like they have a really
relationship. Yeah. Well, they even admitted, both of them on camera, said they talk to each other about stuff they don't talk to you about, which is good.
And I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
they
that.
Need that space.
Yeah.
That space.
And you're with him. It's, he was in a position where, he wasn't going to walk or talk or do anything again.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw him, giving his testimony up on stage in front of a bunch of.
Oh my God. You sent me the video too. By the way, you need to learn how to operate a camera.
I know, right?
I can edit it for you. I can edit. But reflecting, really this is probably very critical. And we'll close it out with this. What message would you give to parents who feel like they don't know what left to do, or they feel like they can't reach their child? What would you say to do? What's the action? What's the next action? Like,
if you don't know what to do, that's one of the reasons why we're so open about talking about this. We're on Facebook, reach out, send me a private message. You want to get my phone number from Jay, feel free.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to have to go through what we did. And if you know that there's people that have been through it and that will support you. Again, it doesn't need to feel like you're on an island. We felt that. We felt like we had to recreate the wheel, and
you don't have to.
You don't have to. There are so many people, and again, it's not talked about. People are maybe ashamed of it. We're not ashamed.
No.
We want to be able to essentially normalize it, to be able to talk about it because we know it's happening. So that way people don't have to feel like they live in the shadows if they're struggling.
And it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to reach out to outside your village or within your village, because there is someone else struggling or dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with as a parent or as an adult. And there's a lot of nonprofits out there that are being built and that are still new today, that are about a year old, that are out there for us, for our kids even, to call, to talk to somebody,
Just take action is what
Just
you're
take
saying.
action.
Take action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't put it off.
There's
Don't
no
put it off.
mistake you can make when you're seeking help.
No.
But the mistake is to not seek help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
With that being said, you guys, I'm grateful for your courage and this is probably one of the hardest podcasts I've ever had to go through. I'm close to your family. I've had my own battles, with this. And I think this makes it real. And you guys are real people. You're a real Midwestern family. I can't wait to share this with the world.
Well, thank you for allowing us to be on the platform.
Yes,
and thank you everybody that's going to watch this. Like it really means a lot. And, I hope that it's helpful for someone.
Absolutely.
And we'll do an update in the future, but God bless you guys. God bless your family.
God bless you.
Thanks for tuning in to The Connection. It's been a fantastic journey exploring stories, insights, and inspirations that bridge our lives. Remember, every connection has the power to transform. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Your feedback keeps us going. In this connected world, let's make meaningful connections that enrich lives. Now, signing off until next time. The Connection. Keep connecting and let's go.